right, welcome to day 2 of our virtual classroom in computer science. Today we're going to be going over how to make a platform game in ReadyMaker IO. And basically what a platform game is you have a character, we'll say this lens cap is the character, and there are platforms, and as you might imagine, the player bounces on the platform. So that is a platformer in essence. It's you have one player or multiple players, and they can go from one area to another, bouncing off of just kind of levitating platforms. A great example of this is the original Mario Brothers for Nintendo. Not the Super Mario Brothers, not any of the 3D stuff that we have going on today, but the original Mario Brothers. And you're in luck, I happen to find an emulation of it online. Give me a moment. All right, so we're back here. We have our old game here. By the way, hello to everyone that's joining us today. All right, so let me get my mouse over here. And what we have is an emulation of the old Mario. Now check this out. We have Mario, this cool little red guy here, and he is, for some reason, having a war with these turtles. I don't know exactly what they did to him, but, and what's cool about this is that, let's just play it. Let's see, that button, I believe, and one of these buttons makes it jump. Boop, there we go. So, as you can see, my guy can run back and forth, and if they want to, they can jump on top of these platforms. That is the essence of a platform. In this case, our objective is to try not to get eaten, and our objective is also to try and flip over these little turtle guys. Man, it's been a long time since I played this game. Oh! And yeah, as I said, not get eating. And it's trying to knock over those turtle guys and then eventually kick them off of the map, which is pretty cool. So this is all that a platformer is. It's fairly simple, but let's dissect this for a little bit, right? Pause. So first off, we have one character. So that one character for us is our main player, Mario. So we have to figure out how to make that in ReadyMaker. Next, we have platforms so that he can jump on top of, platformer, right? But also notice that there is a jump dynamic here. I can press a button and he jumps. So that's a physics thing that we have to figure out. He has to be able to go up and fall down. And when he falls down, he'll land on whatever the platform that is underneath him is. So we touched base on this a little bit in the last one. But let's start off with those dynamics. So let's not worry about the turtle guys that are trying to eat us. Let's just start off with a player, a couple of platforms, and the ability to move around and jump in between them. All right. So I'm going to pause this and go back into ReadyMaker. So this is our lovely game from last time, if you remember. All they have to do is go over this way and try and get to the star, and then our happy kitty is happy, telling us we've won. So this is a lovely game. It's an amazing game. But I think for this, since we're making a game that's kind of a little bit more, I don't know, robust maybe, than this, what we're going to do is start a new game. So how we start a new game is we're going to go up over here to our settings gear. I'm just going to hit save. And it'll save it as, at this case, name here. I think I want to change its name, actually. I'll call this game Happy Kitty. So in order to do that, all I do is click on the text, and then I can name it Happy Kitty, hit save, and go this guy. Cool. Now we'll hit exit, which you guys can't see. I'll move my face out of the way here. So there's the save button right there, and there's the exit button. So I'm going to hit exit, and I will go back to my main screen here. So now what we're going to do is create a new game. Again, that's that plus button. Boop. I'm going to select landscape, and we have back to our regular empty screen. Cool. So let's see. Let's think of a checklist here. I like writing things down. Notepad. All right. So we need a character. Cool. We need platforms. Nice. We need the ability to jump. Also good. And can land on platforms. Okay. So there's our feature list that we're looking for just to get started with here. Cool. Now, let's start off with making a character. We already know how to do that, right? So I'm going to press the plus button to add a new character. Go over to, let's see. We have artwork, and then we have characters. And I think I'm going to choose this blue ghost here. I like blue ghost. Blue ghost is pretty cool. And now we're going to add in the ability for him to move left and right just like we had before. So all we're going to do is I'm going to go through this a little bit fast. If this is your first time joining me here, I'll put a link in the description down below, or my friend Katerina, actually, who's on, can put in the comments a link to the previous video that can get you started on just how to add this motion. So I'm going to start here. And by the way, if you're here, say hello. I am looking at the comments over here. If you have any questions, please ask any question that you have. Throw it in the comments. And I'll answer them as soon as I see them. Cool. So I'm going to go over to this guy. His name is Blue Ghost. I actually want to change his name, I think. So before we went into his appearance settings and we could do all sorts of stuff with physics. Well, now we're going to click appearance. Appearance is the top left. And up here, I can rename him to Player 1. There. Now my Player 1 is there. I'm going to add some motion. So when the system hears me press a key, and we'll make it so there's two different ways that people do this in games. You can either have it so it's the left, right, up, and down arrows, or ASDW, A being the left button. I kind of am a fan of the ASDW just because I've been gaming for a long time. So A will signify that Player 1 is going to move left, and let's do about 2. Confirm that. Now, again, test early, test often. Let's see if that works. Done. Play. Ooh, he moves. Cool. All right, he definitely moves. All right. We'll add another script. Now, I'm going to set you in on the biggest secret to computer science and programming ever. Copy and paste. I've written this code out already, right? I could write it all out again, but basically I want the same features to happen, just slightly different, right? So what I'm going to do is copy my code by pressing this little button, boop, and there it goes. So we have an event up here, event number 1, which does this. I can even rename it by clicking it. Move player left. And this guy will be move player right. And now, since this is the exact same code, I just have to make a couple of modifications to make it so that my player moves right instead of left. So the first thing I'll do is change it to the letter D. So A moves left, D moves right. And then I'm going to say player movement sideways right, and then 0.2. So let's test that. Looks pretty good. Sweet. Cool. All right. So character that can move. Check mark. Next, we need some platforms. Okay, let's go into here. So we can add the same way as before. Let's go into basic shapes. And here you can add squares, rectangles, all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm going to hit a rectangle, a bordered rectangle. I'm going to place it there. Ta-da. So this rectangle is currently higher than it is wide, which could be cool, but I kind of want to have a platform that would look a little bit longer so that he has something to run across, right? So I have to rotate this. Now there's a couple different ways that we can do this. Well, either rotate or resize. One, I can click this, and I can rotate it around like this. And that's me clicking this little kind of circly thing with the arrow there, right? The other way that I can do this is I can go into Appearance, and right there has a rotate. So you can see I've rotated 95%. So if I type in instead 90, I get a nice long rectangle. Still not quite long enough though. So in here we also have the ability to change the width and the height. So I'm going to, let's make its width is currently 1, so let's make it, 3. Oops. Oh, that's really cool, isn't it? Because I rotated it, its width is now in the upward direction. Huh, that's kind of cool actually, right? All right, so now that we know that, I already rotated it, why change? So let's say we want it to be at 3 in that direction, and the width will make 0.5. All right, we have a platform. Nice. All right, so if all goes to plan here, I should push play. He should land on the platform, which he does not do. All right, I'm forgetting something important here. So if we remember from last week, I need to enable physics for my guy here, right? And for my platform so that they are physical objects within my game. So I'm going to click on there, click on the physics button right here, activate physics, and he has some gravity. Cool. And I'll do the exact same thing for my bordered rectangle. Physics, active. Only for him, I want to turn off gravity because I don't want the, platform to fall down into, the ground also. Only the player to fall onto the platform. So let's see what happens there. Click. Boop. Huh. Well, it worked, kind of. It did a thing I wasn't expecting, maybe? I don't know. Let's see. So this guy hit this, right? So as he fell, once he hit here, the platform just kept going down. It didn't fall on its own. It wasn't affected by gravity. However, this thing was able to apply force to the platform, which makes sense. It has physics, right? And then that made it keep going down. So chances are there's a setting somewhere that will disable that. I want to lock or freeze this platform in place. So let's go look. In bordered rectangle, we're adjusting its physics because that's a physical property. It's having force applied to it. And then we have, lock rotation, lock X and Y position. So that should, I think, lock it in place. Let's give it a shot. Boop. Hey, look at that. And now we have a guy that can jump or get on this platform and fall off the platform successfully. Awesome. Cool. Any questions so far on any of this? Cool. All right. I will keep going then. All right. So we have one platform. Nice. Pretty boring platformer. Let's make a second platform. Again, the famous thing that computer scientists will do all over the world is copy and paste. Why create something twice if you've already created it once? So in that, I'm going to go over and I'm going to hit this little button right here. This button makes a copy. Now, I can put this guy right here. Nice. And what's cool about this, because I made a copy of it when it already had all of the properties I wanted set, such as having physics and being locked, those changes should propagate or copy onto this second instance of this object. A fancy word for this is called instantiation. I have made another instance of this one object that I had before, or created a new instance of something. All right, cool. So we have two platforms that our player here, can jump across. Right. So platforms. Check. All right. Next up on the list here is jump. All right. So if I go in here, I can move my character left and right. Cool. Ooh, he does kind of make it, but not as well as I'd hoped. So what I want to do is give him the ability to jump up and down a little bit. What's really cool about ReadyMaker is these are functions that are already in this platform. All I have to do, click on this guy and give him a new behavior. By adding a behavior, I now get an entire list of all of the things that I can have my player do. And this will end up becoming what's called a property of my player. So let's see, what do we got? Bullet, nope. Drag, nope. Explosion force, jump, cool. So I find the one that says jump, which hopefully will help him jump. And I will drag that into his behavior. And we got a couple options here. So I can have him jump 50% of his height. The default control is the space bar, which is cool. And I can change this to W. So now I have my ASDW key configuration. I can add a button. Ooh, wonder what this does. Let's change that red and button active. All right, let's see what this does. Boop. Ha! I have a big button. You guys can't really see it. Hold on a second. Let me move my face here. I have a big button here that says W. I press W and he hops. Cool. And if I press the W key on my keyboard, he also bounces. That key, however, is kind of annoying. I want to get rid of that. So I remember there was a property looking back. And I click on him, go to behavior. Maybe if I make that button active off, maybe I'll get rid of it. Let's test. It does, and my jump still works. Cool. So I'm noticing he's moving kind of fast. I think I want to slow him down a little bit. So if you remember, in order to change how fast he's going, all I have to do is go into my events, move player left, move player right, and then right here it shows how fast he's going. I'm going to just change that to 0.1. And I'll do the same thing for 0.1. Try playing that. That seems a bit more reasonable, I think. All right, I can not only jump, but I can move in between platforms. Awesome. Cool. So we have the basic layout here of a platformer, which is good. This is, if you combine this with what you did last class, with adding a place they could go to win the game, then that's all you really need in order to create this. But why not make it a little bit more complicated for fun, right? So let's start making this pretty, because again, we need a story behind our game, right? It has to be winnable, which we haven't done yet. It has to be, fun, but that's subjective. But I think fun is a function of having an interesting and compelling story. So we've finished these guys, jump and land on platform. So now we're going to go on to phase 2, which is have a cool look with story. and it'll be winnable. Kind of more conceptual stuff than physical stuff to build, but still important. So let's come up with a story. I'm thinking that I like this the space theme that we did before, right? So, space sound good to you guys if I keep with the space theme? Oop. All right. I am going to, in this ad, there is this there's an area called backgrounds. You can click on right there. So I got a lot of cool options here that I can go through. My backgrounds. Let's see. So if I click and drag, ooh, that looks like space. Cool. That was kind of lucky. I didn't even know what that was going to be. So now we have our friend here in space. Now I have to give a story. All right, first off, player one's kind of a meh name, right? So let's make our player Bob. Hello, Bob. All right, so Bob's journey through space is to collect some energy crystals. Got it? So collect energy crystals and then deliver those energy crystals back to his planet. I like it. Sounds great, right? All right, cool. Let's so the practicum of phase 2 is going to be Bob in space. In space. And we need energy crystals that Bob can pick up. We need, let's see. We need a home planet he can return to. And theoretically, we want to know whether or not he picked up those crystals or not. So, knows if collected crystals. Sounds about good. All right, let's start off with number 1. Energy crystals that Bob can pick up. So, let's search our assets here. Artwork. Let's see. We have anything in abstract. Orbs. Ooh. Rhombic tricohet. I can't pronounce that. Game. Let's see what's in game. Nope, don't have anything in there. Platform. Oh, that's cool. We actually have pictures of platforms that we could use. That's good for a little later. And then props. Firecrackers, brains, and axe. I'm going to go with, like this guy, abstract yellow. Abstract yellow kind of looks like, whoa, that's bigger than I was expecting. Kind of looks like a thing. Cool. So I can resize him a bit by clicking on this little thing with the 4 arrows. And then from there, he goes either bigger or smaller. I want him to be a little bit smaller. Cool. So we have our first crystal. Let's say that there's at least 2 crystals makes sense. 1 crystal ain't going to get you far in your spaceship. So let's see. We want him to be collectible by Bob, which means that he has to be a physical object that Bob can interact with. We saw that from last class. So let's go into physics, set him to active, and turn off gravity. Cool. And then let's make a second one. So hit this copy button. Put him there, showing they have successfully made it from one platform to the other. And then we can start adding some code. Now, Abstract Yellow is kind of a weird name in Abstract Yellow C1, so I think I'm going to make it a little bit easier to read. I'm going to rename this guy Power 1. And I'll rename this guy power 2. I have 2 power crystals. Makes sense. All right. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything, please do leave them in the comments. And I can answer them live while I'm on here. All right. So let's see. So first we need to add some code. So in order to add some code, let's go back right here. We have move player left and move player right. That's awesome. Now we have to make code so that if he sees the crystal, he picks it up. So what picking it up looks like is we'll just have that crystal disappear. So when Bob senses that he is touching power 1, then power 1 appearance set hidden to true, right? And we can make the same thing happen for power 2. So if let's actually just try it with this one first. So there's power 1, test early, test often, go, there he is, boop. All right, that works. And if we go over here, that should not disappear because we haven't added the code in yet. So that behaves exactly as we're predicting. I'm sorry, Bob. There he goes. Oh, well. So that behaves exactly as we were hoping. So now that we have it working for 1 crystal, there's still one problem that we haven't figured out yet. If I go back to our notepad, so we have an energy crystal and we can pick them up. We know that, right? How does he know if he collected those crystals, right? We have to have something that lets him know. Now, if I go into the code, there's probably a couple ways that we can do this, but I think the normal way that people would do this in games is by having a score, right? If you meet one object, if you pick up a coin in Mario, if you pick up an XP point somewhere in Fortnite, right? It adds to your score. So let's make a score system. So in math, there's this thing called a variable. Works in programming too. Basically what a variable is a container or a box that can hold some form of information, right? So let's see if I actually have a box. Should have thought of this beforehand, huh? Oh well. A box, right? At the moment, the box contains absolutely nothing. It is a variable I will call GTA. Don't judge me. So if I want this variable to hold some information, I have to first write that information to the variable. So I am going to write down the number 1. Actually, I'm going to switch cameras for this guy. How's it going? So here is sorry, just wanted to answer that question. So here's our variable. Currently it holds nothing. If I say I deem this variable, if I assign to this variable the number 1, which is probably hard for you to see on that camera, I will place it on there. Now, when I call up the variable GTA, it has a it has a value of 1. If I go ahead again and reassign that value of that variable to something else such as 2, it is now, this variable now holds the value of 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that every single time that we collect a gem, we are going to add 1 to the variable score. So it starts off with 0 holds nothing. First time we collect a gem, it will hold the number 1. The next time, we'll increment up one more number, which means 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then we have a variable that we can then check later. Since we have 2 gems on our screen, we can say if the player is returning home and the score is equal to 2, then that player has collected all of the gems on the board and should win. All right. Let's try coding it. All right, back here. I think we're going to set up a new variable. So how we do that in ReadyMaker is okay. So it's this little guy right here, the little globe looking thing. And then we're going to click on that. And then we're going to click on the game. Kind of looks like a briefcase there. And we have the ability to create a new variable. New variable, in this case, will be called score. And it's a type number because we're holding a number in it. So, ta-da! And we can even see that currently our score of type number currently has a value of 0. So we've started off in a good place here. We know our score is 0. I mean, started off on the standard place with it being 0. So now we have to figure out how to make it so that that score is now equal to more than 0, at least 1, when we pick up that gem. So let's go back into our code. So when Bob is sensing that he's touching the power 1 crystal, then the appearance of the power 1 crystal has its hidden property set to the Boolean true, or yes. I'm going to have it do another thing. Also, we can, there's a big thing that says variable. That makes this easy. Variable, score, increase. I hope that means it increases by 1. I suppose we should test this, huh? Done. Oh no! I can't tell if it worked or not. I'm going to have to create something that tells me the score. Okay, so moving back. How do we do that? We want to add something that can tell us some information, maybe a number. Let's try interface and text seems like a nice place. There's a score label. I feel like, let's see what this looks like. Click, boop. Uh-oh, didn't work. Wait, play. Oh, there it is. It's a little tiny and has, it's like super hard to see. All right, let me see if I can go in and change its properties here. So, that is my fault for doing this on, got it. Doing that on a really dark screen. So we have that. We can change its appearance to maybe not be black, and also make it so that it is way bigger. There we go. Ta-da! Now we can see our score. Kind of chilling there in the middle. Awesome. So this guy is called score label. So let's go back into our code. Now we have to add another thing to our code when this event hits. So when Bob senses that he's touching the power crystal. Then set the appearance of the power crystal to hidden. Change the variable score and make it increase. Whoop, sorry. And score label, C, score label, set value to score. So the score label will set the score label's value to equal the variable that we've been storing the score in. Let's see if that works. Yay, look at that. All right, so we now officially know that we have not only a variable that is changing, but we also have that the score can go up, and we'll deal with that problem later. You didn't say that. And we can deal with the score being up. Sweet. All right, cool. Let's keep going with this. Let's add this score mechanic, all of this. Now, it would be a real big annoyance to have to redo all of this code. So why don't we just hit the copy button. Hit power 1. And then we'll go down to the other one, rename this guy, hit power 2. PS, let me know if I'm going too fast. Theoretically, this is supposed to be a half-an-hour lesson. We're a little bit over, not too bad. All right, so in here, we had all of the settings to change the score and remove Power Crystal 1 if it hit Power Crystal 1. Now all we have to do for Power Crystal 2 is change this to be power 2. And then power 2, appearance, set hidden to truth. All right, so now if the power 2 is hit, then if Bob is sensing is touching power 2, then do the following. Power 2 appearance will be set to hidden. The variable score will increase. We get a higher score. And then we'll update the score label so that it's shows the value of score, so we can actually see what our score is. Done. Play. See if it works. Okay. Doot. Doot. Yay, it works. Perfect. We have a game platformer with a score. Why do I keep making Bob fall off the ledge every time I'm happy? Oh, well. Anyways. All right. So we're there, right? So let's go back to our list. Bob's in space. He has energy crystals he can pick up. He knows if he collected those crystals, and now he needs a planet that he can return home to triumphant and victorious, that he has collected all the powers they need. So let's create that. Super easy. We'll do this really quickly. Add. We're going to go to artwork. And then we have our black star. Cool. And we are going to go back to our script. All right, now comes the complicated part. We need to make it first to make sure Bob returns home. We need to first make sure that we can see when Bob senses that he is touching Black Star. If we can get that, we can do basically everything else, probably. So, when that happens, we want Bob, we want his appearance set hidden to true. So if Bob senses that he's touching the black star, which is his home, Bob will then disappear off of our screen by setting his appearance to hidden. And that signifies the end of the game. So let's try that. Here we go. Speed running the game. And it works. Bob went away, right? But I have a question. Can I... Actually, that's a good question. Can I avoid getting a score of 2 and he still goes home, right? So that's not good. We don't want the inhabitants of his planet will not be happy if he comes back without enough crystals. So we have to make sure that we check to see that he has collected both crystals. So what we're going to do is go back in. And we have to add another condition, another when, or in this case, another if. So what conditions do we have to have set here in order for him to return home? First, Bob has to be touching Black Star. Cool. That we already figured out. But we also have to make sure that Bob's score is at least 2. So what we'll do is add a second thing here and see how we can say it's either an and or an or. Okay? So if Bob is sensing that he's touching Black Star and the variable score equals 2, then do all these things. Cool? Does that make sense to everybody? So if Bob is touching the Black Star and the variable score is equal to 2, then let him go home. Let's find out if it works. All right, so we got that guy. Let's try avoiding. Oh, okay. Well, he can definitely get there if the home is if the score is 2. Sweet. Let's try and see if I can not win the game. I'm really good at games. Ha! Doesn't let me go. It kicks me straight out. Awesome. So that works. Now we have a game that in order to go home, doesn't let him go until he collects that second gem. Then he's allowed to go home. So we have a game that is winnable, is challenging at least a little bit now, right? Because he has to get a score in order to be able to finish it, right? We can see that score by modifying a variable and then displaying that variable on the screen. This is a complex game. You can make basically any platformer with just these concepts, right? All you have to do is, I would suggest, make a couple more platforms, right? I'm going to end the class here so that, well, I'm not going to end the class here. I want to do one more thing. Just one more thing. I want it to say you win because I like having conclusion to my games. Him jumping into the Black Star and disappearing does signify that he wins, but why not add a little bit, right? So I'm going to add a interface and text, and I'm going to add a text box. Cool. Put it up here so I can see it in that dark background. First off, I'm going to make it grow a bit. Oops. Then I'm going to go into appearance. And then all the way right here is where I can assign its text. You won! With a bunch of exclamation points. We should probably make that color be white. Well, hold on. We can do some other cool stuff too. Make a little gradient there. You won! All right, so just like last time, we want this to be hidden in the beginning of the game and then show up if the player Bob wins, right? So let's go into our code really quickly. So let's make a new event that says on load. On load means that when my game loads. So you'll see this in almost any programming language. There's usually a thing that says on load. So when the web page loads, or when the game loads, when the web app loads, the app on your iPad, it almost always has an on load event. So what we're going to do is say when the system in its runtime, the scene starts. So when the game loads, then we're going to make text box, should have named that something better. And we're going to make it appearance set hidden to true. So our text box, which is this guy that says you won, should not exist until after I've won. Now, obviously, I haven't told it to do anything once I win yet, so I have to program that in as well. So we'll go back up here. We'll say when Bob returns home, we want his appearance to be set to hidden, and we want our text box appearance set hidden to false or no. So let's try that out really quickly. I win. Now go home. Boop. You won. There you go. Completed game. So let's go back to our list. He can return to his home planet. He can pick it up. Look at that. It's winnable and has a cool story. We have hit every objective we planned for today. That's absolutely amazing. Cool. All right, give me one sec. Let's go over here. So that's the basics of making a platform game. Your job now is to make it your own, right? So this is a really cool way of playing around in space. However, that's my idea, and my idea is, maybe a little boring. I am absolutely 100% sure that you guys are far more creative than I am with coming up with a cool game. So I challenge you guys to take the concepts you saw in this and make your own game. Make it more difficult, make it so things chase after you, all sorts of stuff. There is, and start exploring with the tool, right? There are more features in here that I haven't talked about yet. And of those features, you don't need me to show them to you. You can go and play, right? The worst case scenario, if you click a button that does something weird, just hit the undo button or start a new game. It'll be fine. There's very low risk to playing around with this, right? The things I would suggest going on from here, there's one part that I didn't mention actually before, is the save button. Make sure that you save your game. And if you save your game, I'm going to go back over here for 1 second. I'm going to move my head over. If you save your game, you can click on that little gear thing. Name my game Bob in Space. I can hit the save button, but I can also hit the share button. A URL of this project has been copied to your clipboard. So what that means, I'm on this camera again. So what that means is I can then go to my web browser here, paste in by hitting Control V, or you can right click on your mouse and hit paste, hit enter, and if all goes well, there's the game. And you can share that game with everyone. In fact, please do share your game in the comments. I would love to play your games. Absolutely. I would love there to be an entire community of homebrew games that happen during this homeschooling thing that's going on right now, right? So that's it. Next time we'll be going over a couple more fancy advanced things and how to add enemies into the games. I am going to be streaming Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I originally wanted to try to do every day, but I have a family I have to take care of also. So Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'll be streaming. I'll try and keep all of these lessons to be a half an hour to 45 minutes and not too much longer than that. If you guys have any questions or suggestions or anything you'd like, please put them in the comments. I'd much appreciate it. Like and share this with anyone that you think would be gain benefit from this. This is not, this is for everybody. And with that, I will see you guys in the next class. Oh, one last thing. I am going to also try to add an engineering section to this. So my idea is to have it so that you guys can try looking at stuff around your house, try and figure out how to make your own